Hello and welcome to the Collapse Experiment. Success is the best form of revenge. Because it doesn't hurt you and it doesn't hurt them. But they have to live with the regret of screwing up. Which is exactly what happens 99% of the time. At least that's how both parties feel. So, I dated a girl for about 3 years. And this was a situation where she was a divorced single mom, 2 kids. And what ended up happening was she met somebody else. So, the last time we went out, red flag, we went to go see 50 Shades of Grey. Now, I was already a staunch non-fan of the book, but good Lord, everybody at the damn hospital was treating it like it was a new Bible for women. When clearly the woman who wrote the book does not like women. Like, why do you hate women so much? Should have been like the first interview question that, what was her name? E.L. James? That's the first question that should have been asked. So, that, not a good evening. I left the theater pissed off. She was like, why are you being such an asshole? And I'm like, well, I just watched a 2-hour movie where a douchebag treated a girl like shit and she fell in love with him. So, how do you expect me to react? So for 3 months after that, hardly ever saw her. It got to the point where maybe I was getting a text like once a week. So, after that point, kind of knew things were over. I kept living my life. I had things going on. She knew nothing. She knew absolutely nothing. Now, when she did contact me again, apparently she was having some financial problems. When in reality, it was probably her new guy that was having the financial problems. Being divorced with 3 kids. Looking like Shrek. So, she calls me up and she says, hey, I need some help, blah, blah, blah. And I was like, what is it? And right away, I knew it was money. You hadn't been around in 3 months. I'm now hearing from you. You're asking for something. Obviously, it's going to be money. It's always money at that point. So she says, all these bills, blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, you got the same car. You got the same house. Not really understanding, like, where all these other bills are coming from. And you make more money than me. So she says, well, I don't understand. I asked my mom for $600 and she just gave it to me. I'm like, okay, so it sounds like you got $600. What do you need from me? And she was like, I really need like $800. And I was like, absolutely not. What? You don't love me? And I was like, this has absolutely nothing to do with that. For one, you haven't been around. So obviously something's going on. 2, I think we should just sit down and figure out like what the hell is going on with your finances. Maybe make a plan. Then I'll help you. And she was like, absolutely not. Which is hilarious. Because when we met, she had certain rules. Certain things that she wanted me to follow because there wasn't transparency in her previous relationships. Which means she probably thought I was a douchebag like her exes. So one day, she gets out my checkbook, red flag. She notices, you're not getting the duplicate checkbooks? How am I supposed to know what you're spending your money on? You don't need to know what I'm spending my money on. We're not married. So, anyways, yeah, she had this policy of like discussing finances, making sure we're on the same page, blah, blah, blah. We had separate houses, lived separately, everything was separate. And then all of a sudden she's basically demanding $800. So I ended up meeting up with her. It was the last time I actually spoke to her. And we sit down and she's going on about how, like, this isn't working out, you clearly don't love me anymore, blah, blah, blah. And she's like, so what have you been up to? So I fill her in on how I was doing a podcast. It was syndicated over the internet with like 10,000 followers. And then I was also working on this TV project for a post-apocalyptic show that might go to Netflix, and we're designing that. And she's just sitting there with her jaw dropped, like, where did this come from? And it's like, well, you know, when you leave a guy alone, they tend to get some shit done. See my other video, Leave Men Alone. Seems to be a very popular one. So then, of course, she's poking and prodding and trying to find out, like, who am I talking to? Who am I spending my time with? Because can't just be sitting at home alone writing like I was before I met her. Oh, no. And this goes on, and it's just, you know, I think we're done. So, got up, didn't feel bad at all, left, and she went on to be with Shrek, I guess. I don't know. Don't really care at this point. It's like, clearly you didn't want to be involved in my life anymore, and you made a decision, but you didn't have the balls or the guts or the cojones to tell me, and in the end, you're the one that missed out, which is pretty hilarious. If every breakup could be that good. Don't get me wrong, it sucked. It was definitely mental games for like the last 3 months. Like, what the hell is really going on that I haven't seen you at all in 3 months? The other thing is, I know that some people during a breakup, they end up being like self-destructive, right? Perhaps they start drinking. Perhaps they get involved in other things. Things just aren't going well. You start spending a bunch of money, putting yourself in debt. And that is definitely not the path to take. The one where you end up hurting yourself in the end. You should be striving to be better. To make yourself more attractive than you were when you met the person that just shit all over your life. Work out harder. Work on those skills. Make yourself a better example than you were before then. So that when they do run into you at the local grocery store or whatever, they're just like, oh, maybe I screwed up. And then you can just look back and just be like, yeah, you did. Made another stupid mistake. Haha, joke's on you. Because that ultimately is the best way to get back at somebody. Is to make them regret the decisions where they think that they're doing something smart, or they think that they're being crafty or upgrading. The whole upgrading thing is hilarious to me. It's like, if you're not hitting your peak man when you're in your early 20s as a woman, you're sure as hell not going to be upgrading to your peak, man, when you're in your 30s and when you're in your 40s. That time is done. So either you can be happy with what you have and stop looking at what other people pretend that they have, because most people don't. Most people do not have the things, the life that you think that they live. I have known so many families that were house poor. They had the big house, the dream house that they always wanted, with the 2 cars. They're making payments on all of it, and they can't afford furniture. This is a common thing, and it's going to be happening again. And what's even funnier is, with the way the economy is going now, you've had places where the rent has gone up 30%, and what happens? Evictions go up 30%. Weird how that works. So whenever you think things are going bad because somebody decides that they're going to screw up your life, perhaps they've been a part of it for a couple years, and then they don't have the balls to tell you what's going on, and then you end up in a breakup. Be the person that makes the other person regret what they did. Don't become the person where it's like, yeah, you were right, I'm a piece of crap, look at me, I can't stop drinking, all I do is smoke weed all day. Perhaps if you become a better example of yourself, you'll end up with a better person than the one that you just left. Keep on typing.